And then Omar has his second trial, and Tom comes down to provide a character witness for Omar, and he's only allowed to say two words. I mean, isn't that crazy? The judge says, I'm only going to allow you to say two words in support of Omar. And he
Right.
says, undeniably honest. And that was it. That's all he could say because the judge had stopped him from actually getting a fair trial.
All right. So going back to Suge, right?
Yeah,
Do you see Suge testifying in this trial?
I don't think so. I don't think Suge would testify. But you know what? Suge said enough things publicly. I mean, he talked to me about the murders. He talked to you about the murders. He's talked to Piers Morgan about the murders. I mean, there's plenty of tape on Suge. The only eyewitness and what he stated about it, and he's
And,
always said
and Orlando was not the shooter.
Orlando. And the minute you take Orlando out of that car, this whole bullshit goes away.
Yep.
It goes away. It's over.
Yep.
And that's all you have to do.
And let's not forget that the driver, according to Yaki Gaddafi, was light skinned, bald head, with a mustache, and with a cap on that looked like a bitch in the face.
Yeah,
Right?
there you go.
So ain't nobody in Reggie's story light skinned at all. None of them.
No.
T Brown, Keefe D, Orlando Anderson, or Big Drake.
Whoa, but wait a minute. The Brennan affidavit says Bobby Finch was in the car.
Right.
And Bobby Finch had an airtight alibi. He was picking his boss up at the airport. I mean, in LA, at LAX.
And then they had the little half dead theory.
Yeah. Well, Little Half Dead was likely the shooter. Wait a minute. Little Half Dead has just changed his name. He's no longer, he's the artist formerly known as Little Half Dead now. But look, we don't know because we weren't there. I wasn't in the car. You weren't in the car. But we're not making this up. We're not the ones that said Little Half Dead was the shooter. That was the Patton brothers who caused a confession letter to be written. And that went into Chris Blatchford's file since 98 and finally came out in 2013. And I had my meeting with Chris Blatchford in 2014.
Right. Well, my thing is, with this trial, it seems as Reggie Wright Jr. is going to be the star witness in this.
Well, if that's true, then it's so easy to impeach him because wait a minute, drug trafficking, money laundering, Reggie Wright, who has some kind of a relationship with Keefe D in the drug world, and then his wife somehow had a relationship with Keefe D, and there's some kind of bad blood between them. So all of that testimony can be impeached, and there's many questions that you can ask Reggie Wright that he's going to have trouble answering. Like,
let's hear some of those.
Did you bring a suitcase into the radio shop where Keefe D worked, and then when you and your father left, you didn't have a suitcase because you were under surveillance? There's an LAPD criminal report on Reggie Wright. Well, where's that? Why isn't that entered into evidence? I can't get a copy of it, but I know it exists because it shows up in documents. And it's the criminal history of Reggie Wright Jr. And that's an LAPD document. Well, can that be subpoenaed? I think it can. You could impeach his testimony so many ways. Where were you on the night Biggie? Were you handling security for Biggie? Did you know where and when Biggie was going to be there?
What was his excuse again when Biggie got killed? He was at some casino.
Oh,
that's what he said. He said he was at some casino.
Haven't you heard like all of the crazy stories that Reggie tells and how the lies constantly morph, but the truth always stays the same?
Yep.
So he's going to have some real problems if they can get him under oath. can you believe the questions that they'd be able to ask him? And
They gonna get him under. They already got him under oath in the grand jury.
well, but the grand jury was child's play
Right.
because
But he's going to court. He's testifying. He is
yeah,
definitely testifying.
then you know what? We're going to learn a lot because I wonder how many times he's going to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights.
Yeah. It don't matter. He could invoke them on everything. It's just gonna make him look even more guilty.
Well,
Every time
yeah,
he uses it.
yeah, he does.
Depending
He
on the
already,
question that I'm sure that Michael's gonna be asking him, if he keep invoking the Fifth Amendment, it's only going to make the jury like, okay, let's hurry up, let's wrap this up. That's your guy right there.
yeah, exactly. And all you have to do is take Orlando Anderson out of the car. Now, how else can you take Orlando Anderson out of the car? Well, he
Hospital
was,
records.
yeah, the hospital records.
Yeah,
You can
because he
take
went
at
to the emergency,
yeah,
and there's a documentary that I see that I can't remember, and I'm killing myself because I didn't save it. But they have Orlando Anderson's medical records, and it shows the time that got discharged. And there was no way from the time that he got discharged that he could have been in that Cadillac that shot up the BMW.
and he was hanging out at the bar at the MGM, and so those two things. And then the other thing that you could get is you could get his lawsuit with Affini because he was sued by Affini for wrongful death, and then he countersued for the beatdown, and there was going to be a settlement with Orlando, and he was going to go down that afternoon and collect his check. And the afternoon he was supposed to go down there, he gets murdered at the car wash.
Yep.
And so, I talked to the first responder. I know literally thousands of people in Compton because I've been down there. I worked on Emma Sharif's campaign. I worked on other people that ran for, whatever. And so I literally met thousands and thousands of people down there. One of them was a first responder that was there when the Stone brothers were murdered and when Orlando was murdered. And they have said that everybody was shooting. And a minute after the shots were fired, the first responders heard the shots and rolled, and they were there a minute after. And Reggie Wright Sr. was there, and it looked like he had been there for a long time. Now, Michael Duro, who, by the way, Michael Duro should be out of prison, but he's not because you know what? It's outcome determinative justice. The law changed. He didn't have gunshot residue on his hands. That means he must be released from prison. But guess what? He's not been released. He has a court date coming up. I hope he gets out because he had absolutely nothing to do with the shooting of the Stone brothers. But there were eyewitnesses there at the car wash that said everybody was shooting. It wasn't just the Stone brothers and Orlando that were shooting. And so they ducked, they got down because they didn't want to get hit by stray bullets. But anyway, upshot is the first responders showed up a minute later. Reggie looked like Senior had been there for a while, and Orlando was dead. I mean, he had been shot so full of holes that he was dead, dead, dead. And then, of course, you have Brennan and Ladd say that they got there, and when they got there, Orlando said, "I killed Tupac," and then he died. Well,
Right.
the first responder said, "It's impossible. That didn't happen." And your other guys that you mentioned, the A Compton cop people, they've also said the same thing, that that's a bullshit story. And so you have these corrupt cops. They were found to be corrupt. They were shut down from being corrupt, and they're the ones that controlled the narrative on Tupac. So you got the corrupt cops, the through line for that whole story, and it continues with corrupt cop Kading, who Toros Ramos ruled to have reckless disregard from the truth.